Hello people on the internet, my name is Sarah, or as I'm known on the internet, Sketchbook Sarah, and today I wanted to talk you through everything I sketched, saw, and filmed when I visited the Grand Teton mountain range in Wyoming. I'm from Colorado, and my sister and I grew up doing a lot of camping, but we'd both never been to Wyoming, and we both had never been on a camping trip just ourselves. And we decided to check out Wyoming and see all that it had to offer. My sister is going off to college and I'm going back to RISD for my senior year as an illustration major, so I just really wanted to celebrate summer and just sort of have one last hurrah, and that's exactly what this trip was for. So I hope you enjoy this little film that I put together to commemorate.
You wanna go to the Tetons with this dotty?
It's a crisp 4 a.m. and we're gonna leave. I've had my pink cowboy hat on. And I can't wait to show up to Wyoming and look ridiculous. We're at Buc-ee's, and it's super liminal, because no one is here.
All is strange and vague.
Are we dead, or is this Ohio? You're looking very confused about your pickles.
We left the house at a crisp 4:30 a.m. and then got there around 2, but the drive was less painful than I was expecting. I was really expecting like flat nothingness, sort of like it is towards Kansas and eastern Colorado, but northern Colorado isn't too bad. The vibes in Wyoming were a little bit more conservative than Colorado, but that sort of changed actually in Jackson. Like Jackson to me felt very similar to Colorado, but Wyoming definitely had a little bit of a vibe shift, which was kind of funny. There was just a lot more like billboards about like oil fracking and cows and ranching. Oh my god, everything was cowboy themed. Everything, which I was living for. I love cowboy stuff. I think listening to music helped, and not being the one driving for 90% of it definitely helped. Thank you, Ella. I drew a tiny bit while I was in the car during this trip just because we were in the car so much. In general, I don't like drawing in the car because it's just, you know, a moving vehicle. It's not very conducive for making really precise, fine, detailed work like I tend to like. And it's, you know, car sickness is a thing. So in general, I don't paint in the car, but I just felt like painting the view. Not the most stable thing, but just for like a little sketch of some mountains in watercolor. I didn't think it was the worst to work with. I just started out with this base, and then I ended up working later. I often get questioned when I talk about my travel videos and my travel journaling how I manage to make so much art while I am just doing a bunch of stuff. And the way I do that is you do a lot of waiting in life. You do a lot of waiting in lines, waiting in queues, waiting for your food to come, waiting to order. And when I do those kind of things, I just like to bring out my sketchbook and just, even if I just only add a couple lines to my sketch, if I just work on it, even when I just have a spare 30 seconds throughout the day, it's pretty easy to get a full 3 pages done in, you know, whatever. I think I did like 3 pages on the first day, but I didn't finish them, obviously. So just sort of starting on the base and the painting of the base is what I really aim for, and then I'm always able to just pull out my colored pencils and just add detail later. But with my base that I start out with watercolor and gouache first,
We have a little bit of an orange theme going on.
my main thing that I want to capture with the paint layer is I really want an accurate painting and value system that I can then build just details on top of, and just colors I can't get with watercolor and gouache. Another reason that I like to use mixed media is because I can't quite get the finish and detail and color punch and darkness that I want from just the gouache alone, because often I find that gouache does not go as dark and opaque as I'd want it to be, and colored pencils can't be as blue or as cold, or there's just a lot of specific colors that you just cannot get with colored pencils, at least the colored pencils I have, and on this toned paper. So colored pencils, like, they're not a very opaque medium unless you really scribble them down, which I don't really like to do unless I'm like going for that kind of effect. I mean, I like to do that, like, not in my sketchbook, but when I just don't like to load up the page with a ton of colored pencil. It just kind of gets messy, and it can like rub onto the drawings on the back, which did kind of happen during this trip because I did end up pressing down, which is why I don't like doing that. I can't get the beautiful like light blue washes of the sky on this brown toned paper unless I deploy gouache, and specifically gouache, because gouache is an opaque medium and it's like a full coverage medium, so I can really thicken it up and get some really beautiful vibrant blues that I can like, that are really on the cooler side. I can't get warm blues really well, but I can then punch those base up with the colored pencil to get an even brighter, more saturated blue, and I can sort of have the full range of color and spectrum that I really desire with my art when I use all of these tools. That's why I have this big hefty bag that I lug with me everywhere, including on hikes. My sister was like, "Why the F are you bringing this giant bag on our hike?" And I'm like, "I want to draw." She's like, "Do you really need this whole kit?" And I'm like, "Well, no, but do I want it? Yes. So do I choose to bring it everywhere and lug this like huge capricious bag with me everywhere. Ludicrously capricious bag.
What's even in there? Huh? I mean, Greg, it's monstrous. It's gargantuan. You could take it camping.
Absolutely. And it doesn't bother me. I really like this bag that I just used. I kind of want to customize it, but I thrifted this Harley Davidson purse, and it's leather with studs and chains. It's very punky, but it's huge, and it's perfect. So I just throw, my sketchbook is tiny. It's so funny. My sketchbook is like this big. See, it's a baby. And then my supply thing is a monster. It's way bigger than my sketchbook. Most of the day I was spent hiking or driving, which I didn't really do much drawing or driving when I was doing that. So if I was, doing more sitting down, I probably could have gotten more drawing done. But, I just had a lot to do. I had a lot of things to see, and I think I ended up doing a pretty good, hefty amount of drawing. This is probably my favorite spread in this book. My goal from this new sketchbook, oh, that's another thing. This is a brand new sketchbook that I'm breaking in and officially drawing in on this trip. I mean, I already customized it and decorated it in another video. I film and upload my YouTube videos really asynchronously, so I have no idea when that video will be up on YouTube, because I'm always doing art and filming stuff and doing editing stuff, and I have ADHD. Guys, I got that officially diagnosed. Remember in all my old videos, I would be like, I probably have ADHD, but I don't. I actually do have ADHD, but I got that diagnosed, and I just work on a million projects at once, so things kind of get done in different orders, but I did decorate and customize the sketchbook, so it's brand new, but these are the first couple pages that I'm doing in this book, and I wanted them to be really strong so I can just sort of set a tone and a vibe and continue to work on my journal. It's really, I call it a journal or a sketchbook interchangeably, because my new rule, or not strict rule, but rule-ish, is I want pretty much every single page of this sketchbook to be completely filled, completely, finalized. I want it to be a really high quality finish of work, and I want it to be full color most of the time, unless it's a decorative or accent piece. And I want every single page to have writing on it, and I want this to be not just a sketchbook and or a journal, but sort of an art journal where I want to sketch mostly about the things that I'm doing in my day, and I want to write about the things I'm doing in my day, and just sort of have them coexist together. And I'm sort of thinking of it more of an art journal project book rather than a traditional sketchbook. And if you haven't seen my Artsy Girls journaling ecosystem video, but if you don't know, essentially my process or my current system is that I do all my nice, very finished drawings in my sketchbook, which is more of an art book / journal. And my journaling, what I do there is memory keeping journaling. I do sort of two types. I do stream of consciousness journaling, or I do more this is what I did today, this is what happened, this is what I think. I'm doing more of that all in this sketchbook, where it's nice and presentable, and I can show it off on the internet and, do whatever, and it's sort of my project to show off. Then I have my private sketchbook that I don't have to show anyone. Obviously, I do have some of it on the internet, but I also have some private stuff in there because I really do think it is very important as an artist to have an inner life. And what I mean by an artist inner life is that you need to make art that is just for yourself. You need to write bad poems, you need to make bad sketches, you need to make private paintings. I make so much flipping art. You think I make a lot of art now? You don't even see all the art I make. I have so much art, dude. It's crazy. And I think that for me, the stuff that I do and kind of get out of my system in the private parts of my life in my journal allows me to just create more room for the really finished, cohesive stuff that I feel proud showing you the world, because I can sort of get all my garbage out before I make my nice stuff. But anyway, that's sort of my philosophy going into these sketches, and this is the full spread page. I want to do more of these, especially for landscapes. I think they're just so beautiful, these full spreads where they just extend across the page. I'm just continuing my trippy-ish, abstract-ish style. I'm not really going for anything super specifically trippy in this piece or in these sketches in general. I was just sort of going based off vibes. I was sort of mainly more focusing on capturing the landscape and the feel of the place rather than trying to do anything really psychedelic. But as you can tell, I kept the sort of same look, but I added these really pretty swirly elements to the clouds, which is my absolute favorite thing to do. Sort of the hallmark of my art style, if you could say, especially right now. And I just really love the swirly pattern. I'm just so into it. It's the pattern of the summer, guys. So after chilling in our campsite, my sister took me to a Phelps lake, which I really enjoyed. The lake was absolutely beautiful. The water was crystal clear. I am working on a painting that has a very similar landscape to a lot of the ones I was seeing, of these just beautiful, pristine mountain lakes with tons of foliage, and I just felt so inspired the whole time I was there. But on this hike, we were so paranoid about I was paranoid about seeing a bear, so I made Ella walk in front of me. She had the bear mace, but I really wanted to see a bear, but I did not want to be surprised by a bear. And I was terrified of waking up in the middle of the night to something sniffing at my head. That is the worst thing ever. I don't want to experience primal fear. I'm sleeping in the woods, but I don't want to experience the type of fear that cavemen experience. I'm good. I don't believe in the supernatural. I very much believe in getting mauled by animals in the night. Thankfully, we did not have any bear encounters, but also kind of sad. I really did want to see a bear. When we went to this hike and we made it to this rock we were jumping off, and there's just a ton of people around, and people on trails are always super friendly, so we ended up talking to some boys, and actually ended up a lot in common with them. Like, they went to a bunch of different places that we knew, and etc, etc, but they said they saw a bear on the same trail, and my sister saw one the year before, so there was lots of hope, but we did not see them, just traces of the bear. So Ella says there's a lot of bears in Wyoming. Do we think that's true? I can't believe you can hike from Idaho to here. Ella and I are on our hike. We just got back from the lake where Ella jumped in the water.
Lake.
I was too scared / cold to do it. Ella braved it. I did not. And we talked to some randos, and I painted. Successful day. We didn't see a bear. We tried. We tried multiple times to see a bear. But I put Ella in front of me so she could guard me against the bears because I don't have bear spray. I really wanted to prioritize plein air sketching this trip because I find it incredibly important to practice, especially as a landscape painter. If you've ever spent any time outside, especially I feel like in the Rocky Mountains, which is where I am from, as well as where Wyoming is, like I said, not very different geographically, the weather changes all the time. And I feel like especially in the mountains, it can just change the mood, the lighting, the color, the saturation, everything just so quickly, minute to minute, when the weather is just changing all the flippin' time. And it's really beautiful, and I find it so inspiring. That's sort of why my art looks the way it is because it's responding to the movement in nature and the movement that I find interesting and compelling that honestly I feel like photography that I do just cannot capture. I am just using that same method that I talked about in the beginning where I'm starting with a watercolor base. I like to start with just pure watercolor first, just because I like the paper to shine through in the beginning, so that way I can really control what parts are opaque and what parts let the clear of the watercolor let the toned paper shine through. I feel like, if I'm working on toned paper, I should probably use that to my advantage, and I usually do. It's really nice with warms, you don't have to go as heavy with a lot of stuff. It gets a lot of the job done for you, and I feel like for me it makes me sketch faster. I thought that the toned paper would hold me back and sort of give my art this look that I couldn't control because I was just starting with an unblank canvas, but because I'm using an opaque medium, I don't have that problem at all. So if you're sort of worried about your art looking brown because it's on brown paper, just use opaque mediums, and instead of making your art look browner, it'll actually, in my opinion, make it more vibrant because it has something to bounce off of. This is something in color theory that we talk about, with complementary colors and what that all means. So if you put one contrasting color next to each other, it'll just make the others pop. And I especially like to use this to my advantage when I'm landscape painting, when I'm really thinking about the warms and the cools. So painting outside and getting the lighting and the colors right is probably most important. If you landscape enough, you can kind of make up the shapes from your head, and they're not very complex shapes. Mountains are kind of up and down, and you can sort of make them whatever which way because they're organic, but really sort of being able to convey that shape through shading and lighting and all of that will just really make your landscape feel alive and grounded. And that's sort of what I'm trying to study most when I'm outside, because that's the sort of thing I just can't ever seem to get with photography. You can sort of get it with really nice photography, but even then I feel like it just does not do it justice the way your eyeballs can and the way painting can. I really do think that some of the best landscape paintings I've seen are just way better at capturing the beauty of a landscape than the best landscape photography. And that's just my opinion. I'm a landscape painter. If you're a photographer in the comments, feel free to duke it out with me, but that's just the way I view art and the way I view the world, I am careful to, like I said, not overdo it in the beginning, and then once I'm comfortable, I want to go back in with a nice thick gouache. I'm applying it here to the reflections in the water as well as the sky. I really want to make those areas light and bright. Honestly, I kind of struggle to get my stuff light and bright enough until I add the white gel pen. That's why I have so much supplies. It's just, I need it in order to do what I want it to do in the end. And that white gel pen in the end just adds that extra oomph that I really think makes the art pop off the page. And like I said, extra good with toned paper. You can't do that with white paper. With white paper, you have to sort of build down, where with a medium tone paper, you can build both down and up at the same time. It saves a lot of time. I really recommend it. I have tried both the gray and the brown, and I tend to not like brown as a color, but I gotta say I really do like the brown paper for my art. I just feel like it makes things look the best sort of all around. Like brown just plays better with all colors versus gray. I feel like gray can sort of tone things down where brown can be sort of illuminating, and when it's not like, you know, super saturated, it's not dulling, it's just like softening. I don't know, that's just my opinion. But if you are gonna go for the tone paper, this is so specific, I recommend the brown one. Make them kiss. Mwah! Oh yeah, there's one in the water too.
There's two in the water.
Oh yeah, I see it now.
We haven't seen a bear yet, but Ella is doing her part by bringing a rotisserie chicken leg on the trail to snack on. So hopefully we attract a bear that way, and Ella can fend her off while one hand holding the bear mace, one hand holding the chicken leg.
After that amazing waterfall hike that you just saw, we headed into town to get Dornan's, which is this really great pizza place. We had pizza, pasta, and that salad that you saw. The restaurant had a beautiful view of the mountain Tetons and the Grand Tetons. Fun fact, the Tetons are named after tits. It's in French, it's called tres tetones, which means 3 tits because they look like boobs. So that's what they're named after. That's what I learned at the visitor center that we went to later today. And they also have a wonderful thing to charge your phone electricity. So we ended up charging our phone for a bit, just started chilling. Our devices were dying because, you know, we have been using them a lot to listen to music, and we can't go a day without music, guys. I have to be listening to music, especially country music. I listen to a ton of Orville Peck. My sister listened to the Lumineers. She recently saw them in concert. We even listened to the Brokeback Mountain audiobook because I adore the movie, and we ended up quoting it the whole time because we just freaking love the movie. So I've probably seen Brokeback Mountain like 100 times.
We can't make it on a high altitude walks once or twice a year. Son of a horse and bitch.
Son of a horse and a bitch.
So in town, I spent so much money on stickers, guys. It's not even funny. They were so cute. Okay, so I collect stickers. Everyone in my family collects stuff, okay? We're all hoarders. And they're for my mother. She loves to buy t-shirts, mugs, and now it's on to wine glasses. I did get her a wine glass, but I love to collect magnets, stickers, and occasionally t-shirts if I like them. But my sticker thing, I just love stickers. But I am accumulating a bunch, and I don't know what to put them on because I just am not putting them on my sketchbook right now because they're tiny, and I already decorated this one. And I only like using nice stickers on the outside of things, so I need to put them on something, but I'll figure it out. But in the meantime, I'm just gonna keep buying cute stickers. But Jackson was cool. It had a very cool vibe to it, which I really enjoyed and was surprised by. But after we just did some shopping and walked around, we came back and just hung out. I painted, of course. I was finishing up this sketch that I started by the lake. I just wanted to get everything all squared away. I kept working on it, just tried to take it as far as I could with gouache. My sister very kindly made me a quesadilla, which was delicious. After I was done with that, I just touched it up with the white gel pen and some colored pencil work. After Ella took a nap, I sketched, and we both ate dinner. We decided to go to watch the sunset somewhere, and we drove all the way to Jackson Lake, and it was such a beautiful, huge lake, and we watched the most gorgeous sunset, probably one of the most prettiest I've ever seen, and I just adore pink, as we all know, so it was a super, super pink sunset, and while I was painting it, it just started to turn pink, so I just went along with it and painted right over top of it and did just a little plein air sketch. I really liked the shape of the mountains. I just wanted to give that sort of recognizable Teton silhouette a go, and I hadn't made anything that felt very like mystical and sort of Sarah-ish yet, so with the pink I sort of leaned into this sort of Barbie fairy aesthetic with this landscape. So it's a little different, but I'm happy with how it came out.
On day 3, we decided to go to Yellowstone because we weren't sick of driving already. We wanted to do more. Just kidding. But we were already close enough in the area, and we've both never been to Yellowstone, and it's like the national park, so why not go? We're, national park enthusiasts. We should probably go see like the founding one. And it was pretty cool. Honestly, I think I preferred the Tetons, but I did really enjoy Yellowstone. There's a lot of different cool stuff. You have, Old Faithful and blah blah blah. The bison were pretty cool. I did see a moose or two and some deer. And I did see a lot of really cool water stuff. They have a really cool canyon that I didn't know about and a really massive waterfall. We stared at this lake for like 20 minutes. We were sure there was a bear in the lake. It was a stump. So we got really excited for a minute. But overall, Yellowstone wasn't my absolute favorite. Probably my favorite thing that I saw was the pools that they had. Like, I didn't super love the geysers, but they have these pools that turn different colors and kind of felt like I was walking on an alien planet. The rest of it, I was kind of like, it's kind of what I have at home. So it was probably a lot more exciting for the foreigners and the people who were out of state who were visiting. I saw a lot of different types of people at Yellowstone, a lot more than the Tetons. The Tetons tended to be people from Idaho, Colorado, whatever, just neighboring states, but Yellowstone was from people from all over, so that's kind of cool in its own way. After Yellowstone, we drove back home and just chilled at the campsite, and I just sort of wrapped up my sketchbook. And by then, I had been pretty tired, and I just kind of just wanted to hang out and journal what I had seen. I liked wildflowers that I saw by the lake, so I wanted to incorporate that into my sketchbook, as well as the fact that, this whole trip was sort of about bears, and I didn't see any, but we were all sort of cautious of bears the whole time, so I added this little diamond sign, a bear warning sign that I turned into like a decorative motif for my journal page. I just felt like I really needed something that wasn't landscaping, because by this point, I felt like I had only done landscaping, as well as I wanted to do a portrait, and since Ella had been driving me around and I took this trip with her, I figured it was only fitting that I would paint her. I haven't formally painted her in a while. I do pretty much everything with her. Me and my sister are really close. If you don't know my backstory, basically my parents got divorced when I was around 12, and it was a pretty nasty, ugly divorce, but my sister and I used to fight every single day, and I used to really want a little sister when I was really little. I'd be like, Mom, Dad, I want a little sister, and they'd be like, okay, and I'd be like, it has to be a little sister. If it's a little brother, I don't want it. And they're like, well, it might be a little brother. We can't really control that. And I'm like, that's not how that works. You can't control it. I want a little sister. She came, and then I hated her. And we kind of just fought all the time ever since. But when my parents were getting divorced, we were kind of forced to become very close. And ever since then, we have just been absolutely inseparable. We're absolutely best friends. And it's really cool, I feel very lucky. I feel like very few people have that relationship with their sibling, and I just feel very lucky that I do, because I feel like it's crazy when people, well, I guess I can understand more when people hate their sibling, because I feel like hate is more closer to love than neutrality, but like people who don't know their siblings baffle me. How do you live in the same house and not know what the other person likes, or what they're into, or just kind of anything about them? I know so many people who barely know their siblings at all. Well, I get it if your siblings older and they're moved out, but when you were little, but I'm talking about people with 1 or 2 years age difference that live in the same house and blah blah blah. They're just disconnected. Anyway, that stuff is crazy to me. I happen to really love my sister, so thankfully she was really cool. So here's a little sketch of her. The size of this was torturing me. If you've been following my art recently, my portrait painting has just gotten smaller and smaller and smaller, and that doesn't mean my paintings have gotten smaller necessarily. I mean, a lot of my other work is pretty big. It's just that I decided to paint a figure that it's 1 inch tall, just for fun, because I want to include a really small figure and challenge myself to see if I can paint something realistically-ish small. And that's what I did here, because I just wanted it in the corner of the page and not the whole book. But it kind of squished her face. I'm gonna go back in and fix it up for the final when I show you at the end, but I just wasn't super happy with the portrait, but it got pretty close. And the beautiful thing about gouache and colored pencil is that you can layer them, so when you sort of push it too far with the gouache or you push it too far with the colored pencil, you just go in with one or the other, and you can sort of not infinitely, but close, like build up layers and just keep going over and over and over until you get it right, which is great because I screwed it up time and time again, and I kind of need to screw things up before I get them right. Like I kind of can't make the perfect line on the first try, especially with painting. So I like that, and I think that it also adds kind of a complexity and a dimension to your work if you can make a bunch of mistakes and then sort of wrangle them into place. I think that looks better in the end because it's like a more complex painting and your eye can pick up on that. I don't know, that's just my personal opinion. But after that, I just wanted to chill with some wildflowers. I was getting frustrated, so I was working in between. Like I'd go work on the portrait, then I'd go work on the wildflowers because I'm like, ugh, I can't deal with this. I need to go just draw some swirly lines. But I just did a little watercolor and then mainly colored pencil. I just wanted to do something, like I said, more decorative. And by then I decided to retire for the night. We had our first and only fire of the whole trip, which was rare for us. Fire is a very big thing in my family. We all gotta do fire. We all gotta do s'mores. So Ella and I did s'mores, and we also did banana boats. If you don't know what a banana boat is, you're missing out. So a banana boat, so when you take a banana, you wrap it in tin foil, you cut it down the middle, then you shove chocolate in it, and then you put it back on the fire, and then you melt the chocolate, and it's so good. You could also put like Nutella if you're not allergic like me, or caramel. You can put whatever you want in it, but we just do chocolate and bananas, and they're really good. Ella brought this cool like magic powder thing that made the fire blue, so it was fun to look at. And I think that sitting by the fire and looking at the stars, eating s'more, top 10 human experiences ever. The thing I really like about camping is that it really makes me appreciate the little things in life, and it really makes you live in the moment in ways that other things and activities don't. Like when you're forced without technology and without a lot of very basic human things, and you're kind of just living truly moment to moment in sort of survival mode on light mode, obviously, it forces you to really appreciative of, you know, your food tasting really good and nature being beautiful and the warmth of a fire. You know, I really like it, and it really just helps me feel in touch with reality a bit, which could be a bit difficult in today's modern age.
Overall, my sister and I just had a wonderful time in Yellowstone and the Tetons, and just Wyoming in general. Wyoming pleasantly surprised me. I haven't visited there formally in a really long time. If I had to choose my favorite thing, I'd probably say Phelps Lake. It was the first hike we did when we got there, and it just blew my mind how beautiful and crystal clear the water was, and I just really enjoyed the company that we ended up talking to. As much as I enjoyed my time in the Tetons, I was feeling very, very smelly, and I was very excited to go home and wash the like inch of dirt that had caked onto my skin, it felt like, as well as just get back to civilization and back to my regular painting. I'm currently working on a really large painting that I've been putting off for a long time, so I'm excited to get back into doing that. When I came home, I just finished up the spreads and just made sure they were all neat and squeaky clean. I really enjoyed adding finishing touches, including different diary entries for all the different things I did and saw so that I don't forget anything I did. I also ended up adding some Sufjan Stevens lyrics in the wildflowers because, I don't know, I just needed something to add there, and I wanted to add a quote, but I couldn't think of anything good, so I just ended up with song lyrics, as well as I added this pink background with the spider webs, which I'm not 100% in love with, but it's okay. And for the last page, I decided to do something special. I've been wanting to do an interactive element in my sketchbook for a long time now. I decided to do it in a rear view mirror tab where you can pull it out and you can watch the sunset in the rear view mirror. And I thought that was really cool, and it really captured my experience in Wyoming. I did a lot of driving, but I'm gonna be honest, I have a guilty pleasure for being a passenger princess. I just enjoy nothing more than having a beautiful view and my phone with good data, crisp Diet Coke on a summer morning, and I can feel the air, and I've just got blasting a great song. So that's my definition of a good time, and I think this was just a wonderful way to end summer, and I think I'm really happy with my experience. I wouldn't change a thing. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know if you did. Comment down below if you did, obviously. I would love to have a conversation with you in the comments down below. Sketchbooks are on all platforms, and like and subscribe, ring that notification bell, do all the YouTuber stuff. What do you think? Do you like the format? Tell me which one's your favorite. I would love to hear from you. That's all for now. I'll see you guys later. Bye! Yeah, if I was a mermaid, I think I would choose to live there.
Yeah, me too.